There's a direct connection between our thoughts and our feelings. So, when we engage in things like negative self talk and overthinking, that can intensify feelings like anxiety, stress, overwhelm, even anger. So, understanding that connection is important, but it's not enough. So, in this video, I'm going to give you some practical tips for how to identify and change those self defeating thoughts that can lead to emotional distress. Hi, I'm Dr. Lori Barker, and I am a therapist, educator, and consultant, and I love giving people tips for how to improve their mental health and transform their lives. So the practical tips that I'm sharing in this video come from Albert Ellis's Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy, or REBT. It's a form of cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. And Albert Ellis described his ABC model. I know that's a lot of letters. And if you don't know much about Albert Ellis's ABC model, you might want to pause this video for a second and go to this one right here, where I go into more detail explaining that first part of his model. Because in this video, I'm going to focus on the next part, which includes the D and the E. The D stands for disputing, and the E stands for more effective beliefs, feelings, and behaviors. So the disputing, that's where he gives strategies for how we can try to argue against or challenge the irrational beliefs that lead to our emotional distress. And if we can do that, if we can dispute those irrational beliefs, then it can lead to less emotional distress and more effective feelings, more effective behaviors. So right now, I'm just going to give a quick summary of the ABC part and spend most of this video talking about the D and the E. So the A stands for the activating event. That is the thing that happens to us. If somebody does something to us, or we see an email, or somebody says something to us, but the activating event is the thing that most of the time we recognize it triggers certain feelings or certain behaviors, meaning we may want to react or respond in a particular way. So that's the C. So the A is the activating event, and the C are the emotional and behavioral consequences. But the B represents our beliefs about that event. And Ellis actually believed that the B, or how we interpret that activating event, is really the most important thing that determines how we feel and how we behave. And in terms of the B, Ellis described three main types of irrational beliefs. He first talked about demandingness, and these are the shoulds, the oughts, and the musts. When we believe something should be a particular way, or it must, or it ought. So we have these sort of rigid rules of how we think the world is supposed to work. And when the world doesn't work that way, it leads to the second type of irrational belief, which is awfulizing. So if it doesn't go that way, the way we expect or think it should, then we think it's awful, terrible, or horrible. In other words, we catastrophize and think that it's the worst thing in the world. And the third type of rational belief is low frustration tolerance. So if things don't go the way we think they should, and we think it's awful, terrible, horrible that they didn't go that way, then we think we can't bear, stand, or tolerate it, right? We think that this is just too much. And Ellis talks about how, bad things happen all the time, but it doesn't have to turn into suffering. And he thought that the way that we think about things, these irrational beliefs, turn something that could be bad, uncomfortable, unpleasant into suffering. Ellis described how to dispute each of those three types of irrational beliefs. So the first was demandingness. If you catch yourself in a should, an ought, or a must, you can ask yourself some questions. One is, where's the evidence that something has to be a particular way? What law of the universe says that it has to be that way? Or is this really a demand, or is it a preference? For example, what if your belief is, I must always do well? You can ask yourself, you can change that and dispute that belief and say, well, it would be really nice if I always did well, but I don't have to. And if I don't, I'll be okay. And that doesn't mean you're lowering your standards. It just means you're turning down the emotional pressure. And Ellis said that preferences motivate a lot better than demands. The second type of rational belief is awfulizing. This is where we turn discomfort into catastrophe. So again, we can ask ourselves, okay, I messed up, I made a mistake, and it's bad, but is it really awful? Or it's bad, but is it 100% bad or just partially bad? And is this really the worst thing that could happen? What actually is the worst thing that could happen? And we can say things are maybe not awful, that's the awfulizing, but maybe they're uncomfortable, they're inconvenient, they're frustrating, they're unfortunate, but maybe they're not a catastrophe. The third type of rational belief is the low frustration tolerance. This is when we tell ourselves, I can't stand this. So go back to that idea of this is the worst thing that could happen. And you challenge that, you dispute that by saying, well, is it really the worst thing that could happen? And then with the low frustration tolerance, you might say, well, this is uncomfortable, it's unfortunate, but it's not awful and terrible, and I can stand it. And you can ask yourself, have I handled things like this in the past? Or what happens if I tell myself I can't handle this? And then what happens when I tell myself, you know what? I can. It's not fun. I don't like it, but it's okay and I can handle it. So notice how by disputing that irrational belief, all of those irrational beliefs, we've now changed it to some more effective beliefs. And this isn't trying to convince ourselves that things really aren't that bad. It's not like we're gaslighting ourselves. What we're doing is we're just turning that emotional pressure down. Ellis talked about how we tend to add suffering on top of our pain. So he wasn't saying that bad things don't happen or we shouldn't experience negative emotions or ever have a negative thought. So we're not gaslighting ourselves or trying to pretend like everything is positive. So bad things do happen. But by the way we think, if we move into irrational thinking, that can intensify those emotions beyond where they need to be. So, what we're learning how to do here is how to logically argue with ourselves and how to more rationally evaluate situations. By doing that, we can dial down that emotional intensity. So, if we change the way we think, we can learn how to more effectively regulate our emotions. So let's try applying this to a real world example. And let's take an example from relationships, because relationships are an area where this type of thinking can cause some difficulty. Suppose you go to a party with your partner and it's your partner's party, meaning it's all people that your partner knows and you really don't know anybody there. And your partner spends most of the evening talking with other people and left you alone for long periods of time. Any thoughts or feelings coming up already? So let's put those thoughts and feelings into those three categories. The first is demandingness. So maybe you think to yourself, my partner should not have left me. They should have spent more time with me at the party, and my partner must not care about me. And then maybe that moves into the awfulizing. It was awful. It was terrible. I had a horrible time. And then maybe it goes to the low frustration tolerance. Oh, I just couldn't stand it. I was so overwhelmed. I just didn't know what to do. I couldn't take it anymore. And then maybe you apply some of those thoughts to your partner, right? If you say, well, my partner must not care about me, then maybe you say in the awfulizing, my partner is an awful, terrible, horrible partner. Maybe you apply it to the relationship. This relationship is horrible. And then the low frustration tolerance, I can't stand them anymore, or I can't stand this relationship and I want out. So you see how the whole cascade of thoughts, the demandingness, the awfulizing, the low frustration tolerance can just intensify those feelings and turn that whole evening into a catastrophe. Now let's go back and see how we might dispute some of those beliefs. So instead of saying my partner should have spent the whole evening with me, maybe you dispute that and say, well, you know what? It would have been nice if my partner spent the whole evening with me. I didn't like it, but it wasn't a catastrophe. Or the awfulizing. Well, maybe it wasn't the greatest evening, but maybe it wasn't awful, terrible, and horrible. Maybe I was uncomfortable. Maybe it was unpleasant. Maybe it was frustrating, but it wasn't a catastrophe. And then the low frustration tolerance. I was overwhelmed. I wanted to get out of there. But did you survive? You could say, yeah, I didn't like it, but I survived. I would have preferred, right? So here's the preference. I would have preferred that my partner spend more time with me. I would have preferred, it would have been nice if my partner had been more sensitive and introduced me to some people at the party. And so maybe then it helps you move to a more effective solution. Instead of it blowing up and turning into a fight, Maybe say, you know what, you share with your partner, hey, that was really uncomfortable. I would have preferred that you spend more time with me. You introduce some people, you be a little more sensitive to how I might be feeling in that situation. So next time, right? So here's the solution moving to the next time. Next time, I would prefer if you would do some of those things. So notice that relationship conflicts often occur because of those demands that people act perfectly, that they read our minds and know everything that we're thinking or feeling, that they communicate perfectly. But we're all human and things just don't happen that way, the way that we really want them to all the time. But if we turn those demands into preferences, that eases some of the pressure. And again, it opens the door for other types of solutions. So we can still want reassurance, we can still set boundaries, but we can do so from a more realistic, more logical, more or less emotionally intense place. Now, this isn't going to change overnight. Learning how to dispute your rational beliefs is a skill, and like any skill, it takes time and it takes practice. So you can just start gently by noticing and catching yourself. And you're not going to catch every irrational belief, but every now and then you might say, oops, there's a should, an ought, or a must, or oh, there I go, I'm awfulizing again. Or that feeling, oh, I'm feeling like I'm overwhelmed and I can't stand this, but can I? I've survived it before. Maybe I can. So those are the ways you can catch yourself and then start disputing those beliefs. So it can be simple phrases like, this isn't awful, it's just uncomfortable. Or it's not terrible, it's unfortunate, it's unpleasant, I don't like it, but I can survive it. I have a strong preference here, but it's not a demand, it's not a rule that everybody has to follow. It would be nice, I would prefer it to be different, but it doesn't have to be that way, and I'll be okay. So these techniques aren't really about controlling your emotions or trying to turn off all the negative emotions. It's really about trying to have more flexible thinking. And by more flexible thinking, sort of broadening the way, opening the way you think about things, and trying to think a little more logically, realistically, rationally, that you can turn the dial down, turn the intensity down on some of those emotions. So, like Ellis says, that we're not turning bad into a catastrophe and we're not adding suffering on top of our pain. So, did any of your own irrational beliefs come to mind while you were watching this video? If they did, and if you're comfortable, why don't you put it in the comments down below? And next to your rational belief, dispute it, right? Try to go ahead and dispute that irrational belief and put it in the comment. And if you want more practical tips about how to improve your mental health and transform your life, be sure to subscribe and visit my channel and watch some more videos. And maybe share this with a friend that you think might benefit from it. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.